Hey, fourth graders, this is Miss Walgie. It's Tuesday and we are still talking about elements of drama. So yesterday we started learning about dramas and today we're going to reread an excerpt, remember that's a small part, from Alice in Wonderland called A Mad Tea Party. We will look at the elements of drama and we will answer test style questions again today. So here are today's learning targets. We want to be able to identify those elements of a drama. We want to be able to identify character, setting, and plot in a text, and we want to be able to answer test style questions. Just a refresher, yesterday we talked about what is a drama. A drama is a piece of writing that's meant to be acted out for audiences. So think of your favorite movie or TV show, or if you've ever been to see a play. Usually we see the same story elements as fiction. So we see characters, setting, plot. We also see stage directions. Remember yesterday we went through A Mad Tea Party and we underlined in pink every time we saw something in parentheses or a line that told what the character was doing instead of the character speaking. Dialogue is something else that we see in dramas. So similar to a prose, characters speak in a drama. The major difference is that we won't see quotation marks in a drama, and if a character speaks, it will say the character's name before what they are saying. Remember yesterday when we first started reading A Mad Tea Party, those character names were bold and they were in all caps so we could see who was saying what. When we read dramas, we will see acts, which are a group of connected scenes, and we will also see a scene. Scenes are smaller sections of an act. Each scene continues to build from the last one to help build the plot. So remember, yesterday we just read a small scene. There was no act. We just read a scene from Chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. And we're going to reread again today. Here we go. Okay, fourth graders, we did all the hard work of annotating yesterday. So we looked at the title and we noticed that each one of our lines was numbered for us already. We saw a cast of characters here, which was a big clue that this is a drama. Cast of characters is usually always at the top with the list of the characters who will be in the scene below it. We also noted that we have a large section for line 1. That's because this is the description of the scene, or you could think of the setting. These words are usually in italics like we see here. After we boxed the cast of characters, we underlined those characters in orange to see every time that they spoke. And then the last thing we looked at was stage directions. We underlined all the stage directions in pink like we just talked about before I pulled up the text. Remember, we can see stage directions in parentheses if it's what a certain character does while they're speaking, or if they're not speaking, we can see it in a line on its own. Stage directions are never spoken out loud. Instead, it tells us what the character is doing during that time. So we're going to reread this real quick, and then we are going to get started with some questions for today. Chapter 7, from Chapter 7, A Mad Tea Party. Cast of characters: Alice, the March Hare, the Hatter, the Dormouse. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A Dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. The table was a large one, but the three had crowded together at one corner of it. When the March Hare and the Hatter saw Alice approaching, they cried out. March Hare and Hatter: "No room, no room." Alice: "What? There's plenty of room." Alice sits at the end of the table. The Hatter stares at her. March Hare: "Have some juice." Alice looks around. "But I don't see any juice." March Hare: "There isn't any." Alice: "Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it." March Hare: "It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited." Alice: I didn't know it was your table. It's laid for a great many more than 3. Hatter, your hair wants cutting. Alice, you should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude. Hatter widens his eyes. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Alice thinks. I believe I can guess that. March Hare, do you mean you think you can find the answer to it? Alice, exactly so. March Hare, then you should say what you mean. Alice, I do. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Hatter, not the same thing a bit. You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. March Hare, you might as well say that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. Dormouse, sleepily, you might just as well say that I breathe in my sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. Hatter, it is the same thing with you. The conversation stops. Alice thinks. Hatter, have you guessed the riddle yet, Alice? Alice, no, I give up. What's the answer? Hatter, I haven't the slightest idea. March Hare, nor I. Alice, I think you might do something better with your time than waste it asking riddles which have no answer. Everyone is silent for a moment. March Hare, take some more tea. Alice, I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more. Hatter, you mean you can't take less? It's very easy to take more of nothing. Alice, nobody asked your opinion. Hatter, who's making personal remarks now? Alice finally got up in disgust and walked off. The Dormouse fell asleep instantly, and neither of the others took the least notice of her going. She looked back once, hoping they would call her back, and when she turned back, they were trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot. Alice, at any rate, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in my life. All right. Before we get started on our day 2 questions, I did just want to point out that even though I'm reading aloud and I'm saying the character's name before I'm saying what they say, that would not happen in real life. Like if we watched a movie, we don't hear someone say the character's name before they speak. That's just so that way you know who's saying it right now while I'm reading it aloud to you. All right, let's get ready to answer those day 2 questions. We'll only answer a few together. You'll do most of the work in Kitta. All right, 4th graders, here's our questions for today. Number 1 said, which word is an antonym for stare? Remember, antonym means opposite. So we want the opposite meaning of stare. So think about what stare means. A says glare. B says gaze. C says glance. D says step. So when we are talking about antonym, we want the opposite meaning. So when I hear the word stare, I know that means someone's looking at someone else for a long amount of time. A glare is an angry look. It can be a long look, but it's an angry look. Gaze could be a long look. If someone's gazing at something, it's a long look. So I know that stare and gaze have similar meanings. Glance is a quick look. If you glance at something, you just look at it very quickly. And step has nothing to do with this kind of stare. I think this type of answer would be trying to trick you, like this stare, the stairs that you would walk up or down. So then we now have to think about, is an angry look the opposite meaning of the word stare, or is a quick look the opposite meaning of the word stare? I want you to pause and I want you to go answer now in Kitta. Let's look at number 2. Which is the correct way to segment the syllables in the word invited? I want you to pound this out to yourself, so let's do it. Ready? Invited. and I want you to choose in Kiddom A, B, C, or D for the correct answer. Number 3 here is asking us to infer. It says, what can you infer line 11 of the poem means? It says, your hair wants cutting. An inference, or when you're asked to infer, that is making a good guess based on what you read and your own knowledge. So it wants us to infer about the line, your hair wants cutting. When I read that line, what happens in my head is I'm thinking about hair being cut. And if someone says your hair wants cutting, I'm thinking maybe it's a way that the person who's speaking is telling someone else that their hair is too long, that it wants to be cut. Let's look at our answer choices here and see if something matches. Here we go. A says Hatter wants to cut Alice's hair. I don't think that's the best choice, but let's see what else we have. B says the March hare is about to be cut. No, let me go back to the drama. On line 11, we see it's Hatter who spoke those words, and he was speaking them to Alice because it goes Alice, Hatter, Alice. So we know that B is not the best choice because the March hare has nothing to do with that line. C says the hair on Alice's head has its own feelings and wishes to be cut. What stands out to me is that this is saying the hair has feelings and wants to be cut. I know that when I read this excerpt from A Mad Tea Party, that the hair did not have any feelings. The hair was not a character. There was no magical elements of the hair. That's spelled like this, the hair on Alice's head. I know that C needs to be eliminated because it's irrelevant. So my answer choices left are A, Hatter wants to cut Alice's hair, and D, Hatter notices how long Alice's hair is and thinks she needs a haircut. To me, the only choice that makes sense is answer D. Because answer A makes it seem like the line would have been something like, I would like to cut your hair. Whereas Hatter is noticing her hair and tells her it's too long by saying she needs it cut. Your hair wants cutting is the best choice with, D is the best choice with your hair wants cutting. Let's look at number 4. This is part A. So we've got 2 parts, part A and part B. Part A, which of these inferences about Alice is supported by the poem? Remember, an inference is a good guess based on what we read and our knowledge. A, Alice is silly. B, Alice is good at riddles. C, Alice is annoyed by the other characters in the play. D, Alice is unapproachable. All right, I know that when I read this play, this drama, that Alice was not the silly character. I know that right away. I can eliminate answer A. Maybe Alice is good at riddles, but she had a hard time solving the riddle that Hatter asked her, why is a raven like a writing desk? So B is also not the best choice. So that leaves me with C and D. C says Alice is annoyed by the other characters in the play, and D says Alice is unapproachable. Un here, in the prefix un, means not. If someone is not approachable, that means that people have a hard time like going up to them, talking to them. I didn't see that as much in this drama. So I know that the answer has to be C. And I can also prove that by going back to the stage directions. On line 35, it says Alice finally got up in disgust and walked off. Line 36 tells us that she said, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in my life. So annoyed matches lines 35 and 36. Let's look at part B. Which line from the poem supports part A as evidence? Is it E, no, I give up, what's the answer? 31, which is F, I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more. G, what? There's plenty of room from line 3. Or H, line 36, at any rate, I'll never go there again. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in my life. What we just said, we could find that in line 36. H is our answer. Let's look at number 5. Which detail from the drama helps you infer that Hatter, Dormouse, and March Hare were prepared for company? I want you to answer this question on your own in Kiddum. So I want you to pause. We've inferred twice now, and I want you to practice making an inference. So again, I'm going to read it. Which detail from the drama helps you infer that Hatter, Dormouse, and March Hare were prepared for company? Go answer this question now in Kiddum. Pause the video. And when you're ready, push play. All right. Number 6, you will also answer by yourself in Kiddum. Which word has the same vowel sound as the word learn? So pause and go answer that question. Number 7 says, using context clues, what is the meaning of the word room as it's used in line 2? Let's go back to line 2. On line 2, we see March Hare and Hatter shouting, no room, no room. Look at your answer choices. Are they talking about space, an apartment, a possibility, or an occasion? I want you to answer this question in Kiddum as well. Pause the video. When you're ready, push play. All right, we have two more parts to our questions. Number 8, part A, what inference can you make about how Hatter feels about Alice's presence at the table? All right, so you just made an inference before. I want you to go to Kiddum and do this on your own again. So we're making an inference about how Hatter feels about Alice's presence at the table. Is it A, Hatter is very happy to have her join the tea party? B, Hatter is confused about Alice's presence at the table? C, Hatter does not want Alice to join the tea party? Or D, Hatter feels lucky to have Alice join the tea party? In Kiddum, you're also going to tell me part B, which is one or more lines from the drama that are evidence for your answer for part A. So when we infer, like I said, we use the text. So this is the text evidence part. We don't just use our own knowledge, we use the text. So I want you to go to Kiddum now and answer those questions. And I will see you again soon. Great job today. Bye.